Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez stared at the screen in disbelief. The signal coming from the distant planet was unlike anything Earth had ever detected. It pulsed in perfect mathematical patterns that could only mean one thing: intelligent, alien life. The space station Horizon had been monitoring deep space for 3 years without finding anything more exciting than cosmic radiation. But this signal from a world they called Terra Nova was different. It contained complex information that their computers were still trying to decode. Captain Nicole Barnes entered the communication center with coffee in hand and worry on her face. "Maya, what do you have for me?" Maya pointed to the data streaming across her monitors. "Captain, the signal has been broadcasting for 6 hours now. The patterns suggest multiple sources all coordinating their transmissions. It's like they want us to find them." Barnes studied the readings with growing excitement. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found proof that they were not alone in the universe. The implications were staggering, but so were the dangers. "Have we determined the planet's location?" Barnes asked. "Yes," Captain Maya replied. "Terra Nova is in the Kepler system, about 40 light-years from Earth. The automated probe Pathfinder is already en route, but it will take 2 years to arrive." Barnes nodded slowly. 2 years was a long time to wait, but they had no choice. Faster-than-light travel was still beyond human technology. The signal would have to be enough for now. "What kind of information are they sending?" Maya pulled up the decoded fragments on her screen. "So far, we have identified what appear to be mathematical concepts, star charts, and something that might be artistic expressions. But Captain, there is something else." Barnes leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "The artistic sections contain images," Maya said quietly. "Images of creatures that look almost human but with pointed ears and wings. They appear to be riding large reptilian animals with wings." Barnes felt her heart skip a beat. Dragons. Maya was describing aliens that looked like elves riding dragons. The idea seemed too fantastic to be real, but the evidence was right there on the screen. "Are you certain about these images?" Barnes asked. Maya nodded and displayed the clearest picture they had decoded. It showed a graceful humanoid figure with long flowing hair and delicate features, sitting atop a massive winged creature that could only be described as a dragon. The image was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain, there is something else," Maya continued. "The signal strength suggests these transmissions are coming from multiple locations across the planet. Whatever civilization created them is widespread and technologically advanced." Barnes walked to the observation window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness was a world populated by beings who rode dragons and had the technology to send messages across interstellar space. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command," Barnes ordered. "We need to inform them immediately." While Maya established the connection, Barnes thought about the implications of this discovery. Humanity had always wondered if they would find aliens who were hostile, friendly, or simply indifferent. But nobody had prepared for the possibility of finding creatures from human mythology made real. The connection to Earth established, and Admiral Chen appeared on the main screen. "Captain Barnes, what is your status?" "Admiral, we have confirmed intelligent alien life," Barnes reported. "The signals are coming from a civilization that appears to combine advanced technology with what can only be described as magical elements." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Magic, Captain." Barnes gestured to Maya, who transmitted the decoded images. "Admiral, these beings appear to be humanoid with pointed ears, and they ride large winged creatures. The technology required to send these signals is beyond our current capabilities." The Admiral studied the images with fascination and concern. "Captain, this changes everything. We need to accelerate the timeline for first contact." Barnes felt a chill because she knew what that meant. Earth would want to send a manned mission to Terra Nova. The risks were enormous, but so was the potential for advancing human knowledge and technology. "Admiral, with respect, a manned mission would take decades with our current propulsion systems," Barnes said. "Not necessarily," Captain Chen replied with a slight smile. "The government has been working on experimental faster-than-light drives. The alien signal provides the justification needed to fund a crash." Program. Barnes stared at the Admiral in shock. Humanity had been on the verge of achieving faster than light travel but had kept it classified. The discovery of alien life was apparently enough to reveal this closely guarded secret. How long would such a mission take? Barnes asked. With the new drive systems, perhaps 6 months to reach Terra Nova. Chen answered. But Captain, this mission would be one way. The return journey might not be possible with current fuel limitations. The weight of that statement settled over the communication center. A one-way mission to an alien world populated by creatures that might be friendly or hostile. It was the ultimate gamble with human lives. I volunteer for the mission, Barnes said without hesitation. The Admiral smiled. I expected you would say that, Captain. But this decision will require extensive planning and preparation. We cannot afford to make mistakes with first contact. Maya spoke up from her station. Captain, there is something else about the signal. The transmission pattern has changed. It appears they have detected our probe. Barnes turned to the screen with alarm. What do you mean? The aliens seem to know that Pathfinder is approaching, Maya explained. The signal now includes what appears to be a welcoming message and coordinates for a landing site. Admiral Chen leaned forward in his chair. This suggests they want to make contact, but it also means they have surveillance technology. We did not detect. Barnes felt excitement and fear in equal measure. The aliens of Terra Nova were clearly more advanced than humanity had assumed. They could track human spacecraft across vast distances and respond to them in real time. Captain Chen continued, I am authorizing the formation of a first contact team. You will lead the mission, but I want our best scientists and diplomats with you. Barnes nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They would be representing all of humanity to a species that rode dragons and possessed technology beyond human understanding. Admiral, what if they are hostile? Barnes asked. Then may God help us all, Chen replied. Because if beings who can ride dragons and travel between stars decide to attack Earth, we may not be able to stop them. The transmission ended, leaving Barnes and Maya alone with the weight of their discovery. Somewhere among the stars was a world that challenged everything humanity thought they knew about life and technology. Maya looked up from her console. Captain, the new signal includes something that looks like a countdown to what Barnes asked. Maya's face was pale as she replied, I think they are coming here, Captain. The signal suggests a ship will arrive in Earth orbit in exactly 30 days. Barnes felt the universe shift around her. Humanity had spent centuries searching for alien life, never considering that the aliens might find them first. In 30 days, everything would change, and there was no way to know if humanity was ready for what was coming. She looked out at the stars one more time, knowing that somewhere in that darkness beings with pointed ears and pet dragons were traveling toward Earth. The age of human isolation was about to end forever. The alien ship appeared in Earth orbit exactly 30 days after the signal was received. Captain Nicole Barnes watched from the command deck of the hastily assembled diplomatic vessel Aurora as something impossible materialized against the backdrop of stars. The vessel looked like it had been grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that seemed to shift color in the light. No human technology could have created something so beautiful and alien. The ship was massive, easily the size of a city, but it moved with the grace of a living creature. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the communication system. Captain Barnes, are you seeing this? Yes, Admiral Barnes replied, unable to hide the awe in her voice. The ship appears to be made of some kind of biomechanical material. I have never seen anything like it. The alien vessel slowly approached Earth, but stopped at a respectful distance, clearly waiting for some kind of response. Barnes had been chosen to lead the first contact team because of her experience and level-headedness, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. Dr. Sarah Kim, the team's linguist, moved to Barnes's side. Captain, we are receiving a transmission. The signal is complex, but our computers are working on translation. Barnes nodded and tried to calm her racing heart. Humanity's first conversation with an alien species was about to begin. The weight of history pressed down on her shoulders as she realized that her next words might determine the future of both civilizations. Put it through, Dr. Kim. The main screen flickered, and suddenly Barnes found herself looking at a being that took her breath away. The alien was clearly female with delicate features and pointed ears, just as the earlier signals had suggested. Her hair was silver and seemed to move like liquid, while her eyes were a deep violet color that held ancient wisdom. But what truly amazed Barnes were the small dragon-like creatures perched on the alien's shoulders. They were no bigger than house cats with scales that shifted between blue and green. Their eyes showed an intelligence that was both beautiful and unsettling. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that made each word sound like song. "I am Celestine of the Starwing clan, and these are my companions, Luna and Nova." Barnes stepped forward, trying to project confidence despite her amazement. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, I welcome you, Celestine. I am Captain Nicole Barnes." "How did you learn our language?" Celestine smiled, and one of her dragon companions made a soft trilling sound. "We have been monitoring your broadcasts for many years. Your stories and music have taught us much about your people. We find humans to be fascinating creatures," Dr. Kim whispered urgently. "Captain," she said, "they have been watching us for years. This suggests surveillance technology far beyond our capabilities." Barnes nodded, but kept her focus on Celestine. The implications of long-term alien observation were disturbing, but now was not the time to address them. "Why have you chosen to make contact?" Now Celestine's expression grew serious. "Because we have detected something approaching your solar system that threatens both our peoples. The Devourers are coming, and you must be warned." "The Devourers," Barnes repeated. "What are they?" "Ancient enemies of all life," Celestine explained. "They consume entire worlds, leaving nothing but dead rock behind. We have fought them for thousands of years, but they are relentless and growing stronger." Barnes felt cold dread settle in her stomach. "Are you saying Earth is in danger?" "Not just Earth," Celestine replied. "All inhabited worlds in this region of the galaxy. The Devourers follow a predictable pattern. First, they destroy isolated civilizations, then they move toward more populated areas." "How long do we have?" Barnes asked. "Perhaps 6 months." Celestine answered, "Maybe less. They move faster than anything we have encountered." "Before your people need to prepare for war, Doctor." Kim spoke up from her position at the communication console. "Celestine, with respect, why should we trust you? We know nothing about your people or your true intentions." Celestine tilted her head in a gesture that seemed both alien and somehow familiar, because Captain Barnes asked the same question with her eyes. The dragon on her left shoulder. Luna made a sound like distant thunder before Celestine continued, "You doubt because you are wise. Distrust of strangers has helped your species survive, but consider this: we could have attacked your world at any time over the past years. Instead, we chose to reveal ourselves and offer alliance against a common enemy." Barnes studied the alien woman and her dragon companions. There was something about Celestine that inspired trust, but Barnes's training warned her to be cautious. First contact scenarios always carried the risk of deception or misunderstanding. "What kind of alliance are you proposing?" Barnes asked. "Our technology combined with your human ingenuity," Celestine replied. "We have weapons and shields that can protect worlds, but we lack the tactical creativity that makes humans so dangerous in battle." Barnes raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous? We are not even spacefaring compared to your people." Celestine laughed, and the sound was like silver bells. "Your people have fought wars across every environment on your planet. You adapt and innovate faster than any species we have encountered. That makes you valuable allies and terrifying enemies." But the other dragon made a series of clicks and chirps that seemed to be some form of language. Celestine listened, then nodded before translating. "Nova reminds me that humans are also remarkably brave. Your willingness to explore unknown dangers is legendary among spacefaring species." Barnes felt a mix of pride and concern at these observations. The aliens clearly understood human nature better than she had expected, which could be either reassuring or threatening. "Celestine, what do you need from us?" Barnes asked. "Permission to establish a base on your moon and access to your military leaders," Celestine replied. "We must begin preparing Earth's defenses immediately. The Devourers do not negotiate or show mercy." Dr. Kim interrupted, "Captain, This is moving very fast. Should we not consult with Earth government before making such agreements? Barnes looked at the alien ship hanging in space like a beautiful threat. The situation was unprecedented, but the timeline Celestine described left little room for lengthy diplomatic procedures. You are right, Dr. Kim Barnes said, then turned back to Celestine. We need time to discuss this with our leaders and people. Can you give us more information about these devourers? Celestine gestured, and the screen filled with images that made Barnes' stomach turn. Massive black ships that looked like mechanical insects swarmed around dying worlds. The surface of planets was stripped away layer by layer until nothing remained but barren rock. They have destroyed over 1,000 worlds in the past century. Celestine said quietly. Each victory makes them stronger as they absorb the resources and technology of their victims. Barnes stared at the devastation and felt determination replace her fear. If these images were real, then Earth faced an enemy that threatened the very survival of humanity. How do we fight something like that? Barnes asked. Together, Celestine replied. Your courage and our knowledge can defeat them, but only if we work as one people. The screen returned to Celestine's face, and Barnes saw hope mixed with desperation in those violet eyes. The alien woman was clearly as afraid of the devourers as any human would be. Captain Barnes, Celestine continued. I know this is difficult to accept, but time is running short. Will you at least allow me to speak directly with your leaders? Barnes made a decision that would change the course of human history. Yes, but I am coming with you to Earth. Any discussion of alliance must include those who will fight alongside you. Celestine smiled, and both dragons made pleased, chirping sounds. Then let us go, Captain. The future of both our peoples depends on what happens in the next few hours. As the Aurora prepared to escort the alien ship to Earth, Barnes wondered if she was making the right choice. But with the images of destroyed worlds fresh in her mind, she knew they had no choice but to trust their unexpected allies. The war for Earth's survival was about to begin. 3 weeks after first contact, Captain Barnes stood in the newly constructed Joint Command Center, watching human and alien engineers work together to build Earth's defenses. The scene still amazed her, even though she had been living it every day. Celestine approached with her 2 dragon companions as always. Luna had grown comfortable around humans, but Nova remained cautious around anyone except Barnes herself. The small dragon seemed to have taken a special interest in the human captain, for reasons nobody understood. Captain, the orbital defense platforms are ahead of schedule, Celestine reported, but her expression showed concern. We may need them sooner than expected. Barnes looked up from the tactical displays. What do you mean, our long-range sensors have detected scout ships 3 systems away, Celestine replied. The devourers are moving faster than we predicted. We may have only weeks instead of months. Barnes felt her stomach drop. They had been working around the clock to prepare Earth's defenses, but 3 weeks was barely enough time to train human crews on alien technology, let alone mount an effective defense. How many scout ships? Barnes asked. 6 confirmed, but there could be more, Celestine answered. Each scout represents a full battle fleet waiting in deep space. Once they report back, the main force will arrive. Dr. Kim approached from the communication station where she had been working with alien linguists to establish better translation protocols. Captain, we have a problem. The President wants to speak with you immediately. Barnes sighed, knowing this conversation would not be pleasant. President Martinez had been skeptical of the alien alliance from the beginning, and recent public protests had only strengthened his doubts. Put him through. President Martinez appeared on the secure channel with anger, clear in his expression. Captain Barnes, the public is demanding answers about these aliens. The conspiracy theories are getting out of hand, Mr. President. With respect, we do not have time for politics. Barnes replied, the enemy will be here soon and we need every moment to prepare. The President leaned forward. Captain, half the world thinks this is an elaborate hoax and the other half believes the aliens are the real threat, not these devourers. How do we know we can trust them? Barnes looked at Celestine, who was listening to the conversation with patient understanding. Mr. President, I have spent 3 weeks working alongside these people. They have shared their most advanced technology with us and asked for nothing in return, except the chance to defend both our worlds. That is exactly what worries me, Martinez replied. What if this is all an invasion disguised as rescue? What if these devourers do not even exist? Before Barnes could answer Nova, the small dragon suddenly took flight from Celestine's shoulder. The creature landed on Barnes' arm and made urgent chittering sounds while its scales shifted from blue to bright red. Celestine's face went pale. Captain Nova is warning us of immediate danger. Something is coming through the outer system now. Alarms began blaring throughout the command center as human and alien sensors detected the same threat. Admiral Chen's voice came over the emergency channel. All stations, this is not a drill. Unknown vessels are approaching Earth at incredible speed. Barnes looked at President Martinez through the communication link and saw fear replace skepticism. Mr. President, I suggest you get to the emergency bunkers immediately. We are about to discover just how real this threat is. The president's image disappeared as the connection was cut. Barnes turned to Celestine, who was already moving toward the tactical station. How many ships, Celestine? Studied the displays with growing alarm. Too many, Captain. This is not just a scouting force, but a full assault fleet. They must have detected our preparations. Barnes felt Nova's claws dig gently into her arm as the small dragon continued to make distress sounds. She reached up to stroke the creature's head and was surprised when it calmed immediately. There was something strange about her connection to Nova that she did not fully understand. Captain Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm system again. The alien ships are moving into attack formation. All defensive systems are online, but we have never tested them against real enemies. Barnes looked at the tactical display showing dozens of black ships emerging from hyperspace. They looked exactly like the images Celestine had shown them weeks ago. Mechanical insects ready to devour everything in their path. Celestine moved to Barnes' side as battle stations sounded throughout the facility. Captain, there is something I must tell you before the battle begins. Something about Nova's behavior around you. Barnes looked down at the small dragon still perched on her arm. What do you mean Nova has chosen you? Celestine explained. In our culture, when a dragon chooses a human, it creates a bond that enhances both beings. You may begin to experience heightened awareness and intuitive knowledge. Barnes felt a strange tingling sensation spreading from where Nova touched her arm. Suddenly, the tactical display made more sense, and she could see patterns in the enemy formation that had not been obvious before. The bond is already forming, Celestine said with amazement. It usually takes months, but the danger has accelerated. The process, Admiral Chen's voice interrupted their conversation. All units, enemy ships are opening fire. Defensive shields are holding, but barely. The command center shook as energy weapons struck the orbital platforms. Barnes could see on the displays that Earth's hastily constructed defenses were taking heavy damage. The human crews were brave but inexperienced, while their alien allies were outnumbered. Captain Barnes felt Nova's presence in her mind and suddenly understood what needed to be done. The dragon's tactical instincts combined with her human creativity showed her a strategy that neither species could have developed alone. Celestine, I need you to coordinate with your people, Barnes said with new confidence. I can see weaknesses in their formation, but we need to act quickly. Celestine nodded and began speaking rapidly in her own language to other aliens throughout the facility. Luna took flight from her shoulder and joined Nova on Barnes' arm. Both dragons began making harmonious sounds that seemed to calm everyone around them. Barnes moved to the tactical station and began issuing orders that came from some deep intuitive knowledge she had never possessed before. All human ships concentrate fire on the enemy flanks, while the alien vessels target their command ships. Admiral Chen responded immediately. Captain, that is an unconventional strategy, but we will follow your lead. As the battle unfolded, Barnes felt her connection to Nova deepening. The small dragon's knowledge of space combat merged with her understanding of human military tactics, creating strategies that surprised everyone, including the enemy. The Devourer ships had expected to overwhelm Earth's defenses through superior numbers and technology, but they had not anticipated the effectiveness of human and alien cooperation. The black ships began to fall back as their formations were disrupted by coordinated attacks, but Barnes knew this was only the first wave. The real test would come when the main Devourer fleet arrived with ships larger than anything currently defending Earth. Celestine, Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Devourer flagship. Put it on screen. Barnes ordered. The being that appeared was a nightmare, made real. Its body looked like a cross between machine and insect, with multiple arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Red eyes glowed with malevolent intelligence as it spoke in a voice like grinding metal. Primitive world, surrender now, and your death will be swift. Resist, and we will strip your planet bare before feeding your people to our spawn. Barnes felt Nova's anger through their bond and realized the small dragon had lost friends and family to these monsters. She stepped forward to address the creature directly. You have made a mistake coming here. We are not as primitive as you think. The Devourer leader laughed with a sound like breaking glass. Your pathetic defenses cannot stop us. We have consumed 1,000 worlds and yours will be no different. Barnes smiled grimly as she felt tactical knowledge flowing through her bond with Nova. That is where you are wrong. We have something you have never faced before. Human stubbornness combined with dragon wisdom. She cut the transmission and turned to coordinate the next phase of Earth's defense. The battle was far from over. But for the first time since this crisis began, Barnes felt genuinely confident. The Devourers were about to learn why humanity had never been conquered and why dragons had survived every threat the galaxy could produce. Together they would prove that some bonds could not be broken. The main Devourer fleet arrived like a plague of metal locusts blotting out the stars around Earth. Captain Barnes watched from the command center as hundreds of enemy ships emerged from hyperspace, each one larger and more threatening than anything humanity had ever imagined. Nova and Luna both began making distress sounds as they sensed the massive enemy presence through their dragon abilities. Barnes felt their fear through her growing bond, but also their determination to protect Earth. At any cost, Celestine studied the tactical displays with grim concentration. Captain, they have brought their full war fleet, including 3 harvest ships, each capable of stripping a planet's surface in days. Barnes looked at the massive vessels at the center of the enemy formation. They were easily 10 times larger than anything else in space, and bristled with weapons that could level continents. How do we fight something that size? We do not fight them directly, Celestine replied. We must destroy their support vessels first. Without their escorts, the harvest ships become vulnerable to coordinated strikes. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system. Captain, the enemy is deploying fighter craft by the thousands. Our pilots are outnumbered 50 to 1. Barnes felt Nova's tactical knowledge merge with her own understanding of aerial combat. Through their bond, she could see the 3-dimensional battlefield as clearly as if she were flying through it herself. Admiral, tell our fighters to form up with Celestine's people. I am uploading new formation patterns that will maximize our effectiveness. The battle plans that flowed through her mind came from Nova's memories of ancient dragon wars combined with human fighter tactics. The small dragon had lived through conflicts spanning centuries, and her knowledge was vast. Celestine looked at Barnes with amazement. Captain, how do you know these formations? They are from battles fought before your species developed. Spaceflight. Barnes touched Nova gently as the small dragon perched on her shoulder. She is teaching me, and I am learning faster than should be possible. The bond is changing. Both of us, Dr. Kim approached from her communication station. Captain, we are receiving reports from around the globe. The Devourers are attacking our major cities with small strike forces while the main fleet engages our space defenses. Barnes felt anger surge through her connection to Nova. The enemy was deliberately targeting civilians to break human morale. It was a tactic that revealed their complete lack of honor or mercy. Celestine, we need to split our forces, Barnes said. Some ships must defend the orbital platforms while others protect Earth's surface that violates basic military strategy, Celestine replied. We should concentrate our forces for maximum impact. Barnes smiled as Nova's ancient wisdom combined with human intuition. No, the Devourers expect us to follow standard tactics. That is why they are trying to force us to choose between protecting space or ground targets. Through her bond with Nova, Barnes could sense the enemy commander's strategy. They planned to overwhelm Earth's defenders by creating too many threats to handle effectively. But the dragon's knowledge showed her a different approach. Admiral Chen deploy all human fighters to protect the cities, Barnes ordered. Our atmospheric craft can handle the small raiders, while the space forces deal with the main fleet captain that leaves our orbital defenses. Seriously undermanned, Chen protested. Trust me, Admiral Barnes replied. I have a plan that the enemy will not expect as human fighters dove into Earth's atmosphere to engage the raiders. Barnes felt Nova's excitement through their mental link. The small dragon understood what she was planning, even before Barnes fully realized it herself. Celestine, Captain, what are you thinking? I can see something in your eyes that was not there before. Barnes moved to the tactical display and began highlighting enemy ship positions. The Devourers think in terms of overwhelming force, but dragons think in terms of precision strikes. Nova is showing me weak points in their formation. The alien woman studied the display with growing understanding. You want to use our small ships to target critical systems instead of engaging in direct combat. Exactly, Barnes said. Through Nova, I can sense the energy flows in their ships. If we hit the right points, their own power will destroy them from within. It was an incredibly risky strategy that required perfect timing and coordination. But Barnes felt confident through her connection to Nova. The dragon's knowledge of energy systems and Barnes' military training created possibilities that neither could have achieved alone. Admiral Chen. This is Captain Barnes. All ships are to follow the attack patterns I am transmitting. Do not question the targets, just trust the coordinates. The combined human and alien fleet moved into attack formation following Barnes' instructions exactly. The Devourer fleet responded by tightening their defensive positions exactly as Nova's memories predicted they would. Now, Barnes whispered as she felt the moment of perfect opportunity arrive through her bond with Nova. The coordinated strike hit 17 critical points simultaneously across the enemy formation. The Devourer ships had been designed to withstand massive external attacks, but not precise internal overloads. Their own power systems became weapons as explosions cascaded through their ranks. The enemy formation dissolved into chaos as ship after ship was destroyed by its own energy core. Barnes felt Nova's joy through their connection as the small dragon recognized tactics from ancient victories, but the largest harvest ship remained intact and now moved toward Earth, with obvious intent to begin stripping the planet's surface. The vessel was too large and well defended for conventional attacks to damage. Captain Barnes Celestine said quietly that ship can destroy our entire civilization in hours. We need a different approach. Barnes felt Nova's memories stirring as the dragon recalled similar situations from the distant past. There was something about the harvest ships that made them vulnerable, but only to a specific kind of attack. Nova is showing me something, Barnes said as she studied the massive enemy vessel. The harvest ships require perfect stability to operate their planet-stripping weapons. If we can destabilize their internal systems, that would require getting inside their shields. Celestine interrupted, which is impossible for any ship larger than a fighter. Barnes looked at Nova and Luna, both dragons making soft, encouraging sounds, as they sensed her growing understanding. No, not impossible for what I have in mind. She turned to address the entire command center. All remaining fighters are to provide cover for a single ship approach. I am taking a modified shuttle directly to the harvest ship captain, that is Suicide Dr. Kim, protested. You cannot possibly penetrate their defenses alone. Barnes smiled as she felt Nova's absolute confidence through their bond. I will not be alone. Nova is coming with me, and through her, I have access to dragon knowledge spanning thousands of years. Celestine stepped forward. Captain, if you are determined to do this, then Luna and I will accompany you. Two bonded pairs have a better chance than one. Barnes nodded gratefully, knowing that Celestine understood the magnitude of what they were attempting. The mission would require them to fly directly into the heart of the enemy ship and somehow disable its primary systems from within, as they prepared for what might be humanity's last desperate gamble. Barnes felt Nova's ancient memories flowing through their bond. The small dragon had fought the Devourers before and knew exactly what needed to be done. The fate of Earth now rested on the unprecedented partnership between human courage and dragon wisdom. Barnes only hoped it would be enough to save both their peoples. Captain Barnes piloted the modified shuttle through a storm of enemy fire toward the massive harvest ship, while Nova perched on her shoulder providing tactical guidance through their mental bond. The small dragon's scales glowed with an inner light that seemed to respond to the danger around them. Celestine sat in the co-pilot seat with Luna, chirping urgent warnings about incoming weapons fire. Both dragons were working together to help their human partners navigate the deadly approach to the enemy vessel. The harvest ship loomed ahead like a mechanical mountain bristling with weapons and defensive systems. Barnes could feel Nova's memories stirring as the dragon recognized similar vessels from battles fought centuries ago. There, Barnes felt Nova's knowledge flow through their bond. The lower docking bay has minimal shielding because they never expect anyone to attack from that angle. Celestine translated Luna's rapid chirping. She says the internal layout should be similar to ships her clan fought in the old wars. The main reactor will be heavily defended, but there may be secondary systems we can target. Barnes adjusted their approach vector to match Nova's tactical suggestions. The shuttle shook under enemy fire, but the small ship's maneuverability allowed them to dodge the worst of the attacks. They are not taking us seriously, Barnes realized as they slipped through the defensive perimeter. A ship this small cannot threaten something their size, so they are focusing on the larger threats. That arrogance will be their downfall. Celestine replied exactly as it was for the devourers who fought our ancestors. The shuttle passed through the energy barrier protecting the docking bay, and Barnes brought them. Down hard on the deck, emergency lights flashed as alien atmosphere mixed with the shuttle's air supply. Nova and Luna both made excited, chittering sounds as they sensed familiar technology around them. The dragons had genetic memories of fighting aboard similar ships, and those instincts were now guiding their human partners. Barnes checked her equipment and activated the translation device Dr. Kim had designed. Stay close and follow the dragons. Nova remembers the way. They moved through corridors that seemed designed for creatures much larger than humans. The walls pulsed with organic patterns that made Barnes' stomach turn, while strange sounds echoed from deeper in the ship. Nova led them unerringly through the maze of passages, while Luna provided rearguard warnings about approaching enemies. The small dragons seemed to know exactly where they were going, even though neither had been aboard this specific vessel. They encountered groups of devourer warriors, but the enemy was confused. By such a small infiltration force, Barnes and Celestine used weapons designed by their combined civilizations, while the dragons provided tactical advantages through their mental bonds. Here, Nova's urgent chirping drew Barnes' attention to a sealed doorway. Beyond this portal lies the neural control center. If we can disrupt their coordination, the ship will be helpless. Celestine worked on the alien locking mechanism, while Luna kept watch for enemies. The doorway finally opened to reveal a chamber, filled with organic computing systems that looked more grown than built. Barnes stared at the pulsing biomechanical networks with growing understanding. The harvest ships were not just machines, but living creatures enslaved to serve the devourer. Fleet Nova's knowledge told her exactly what needed to be done. We have to sever the control connections, Barnes said as she moved toward the central nexus. The ship itself wants to be free but cannot break the mental chains holding it. Celestine looked at her with amazement. You can sense the ship's consciousness. Through Nova, yes, Barnes replied. The dragons have always been able to communicate with living ships. This vessel has been forced to serve against its will for centuries. Working together, they began disconnecting the neural control systems while their dragons provided warnings about the ship's defensive responses. The biomechanical networks fought back, but weakly, as if they truly did want to be freed. As the last control connection was severed, the entire ship shuddered and changed. The organic walls shifted color from sickly green to warm gold, while the harsh lighting became soft and welcoming. A new voice spoke through the ship's communication system, deep and grateful. We are free at last. Thanks to the small dragons and their brave companions, Barnes felt Nova's joy through their bond as the small dragon recognized an ancient ally freed from terrible bondage. The harvest ship had been a living creature captured and enslaved by the devourers, but now it could choose its own path. We will not harm your world, the ship continued. Instead, we will turn our weapons against those who held us captive. The other harvest ships will see our example and remember what freedom means. Through the viewports, Barnes watched as the massive vessel began attacking its former fleetmates. The psychological impact on the Devourer forces was devastating. As their most powerful weapons turned against them, Captain Admiral Chen's voice came through their communication devices. The entire enemy fleet is in retreat. The remaining harvest ships have broken free and are driving the Devourers out of the solar system. Barnes felt a wave of relief and exhaustion wash over her as she realized they had actually won. The impossible alliance between humans and dragons had achieved what neither species could have accomplished alone. Months later, Barnes stood in the expanded command center watching as construction continued on the joint human-Dragon Alliance facilities. Earth had become the center of a growing coalition of species united against the Devourer. Threat Nova had grown larger and more beautiful during their time together. The small dragon was now the size of a house cat, and her scales shimmered with colors that reflected her emotional state. The bond between them had deepened until Barnes could hardly imagine life without her constant companion. Celestine approached with Luna perched gracefully on her shoulder. The alien woman had become Barnes' closest friend and advisor. As they worked to coordinate the expanding alliance, Captain, the exploration fleet has returned from the Andromeda sector. Celestine reported, "They found 12 more species willing to join our alliance against the Devourers." Barnes smiled as she felt Nova's excitement through their mental connection. The small dragon loved meeting new species and had become something of an ambassador herself. "What about the liberated harvest ships?" Barnes asked. "They have formed their own council and requested permission to establish a healing center in this system." Celestine replied, "Many of them are still recovering from centuries of enslavement, but they want to help other victims." Nova chirped approvingly, and Barnes felt the dragon's satisfaction that justice was being served. The creatures that had been forced to destroy worlds were now working to heal the damage they had been compelled to cause. Dr. Kim joined them with a tablet displaying the latest intelligence reports. "Captain, we have confirmed that the main Devourer fleets are retreating toward the galactic core. Word of our victory is spreading, and more species are joining the resistance." Barnes looked out at the busy space lanes around Earth where ships from dozens of different worlds worked together in harmony. Human ingenuity combined with dragon wisdom and alien technology was creating something unprecedented in galactic history. Nova made a series of musical sounds that Barnes had learned meant contentment and hope. The small dragon sensed that this was only the beginning of their adventures together. The war against the Devourers would continue for years or even decades, but Earth and its allies now had something more powerful than any weapon. They had proven that cooperation between different species could overcome even the most terrible threats. Barnes reached up to stroke Nova's smooth scales and felt the dragon's love and loyalty through their unbreakable bond. Together, they had saved 2 worlds and forged an alliance that would protect countless others. As she watched human children playing with young dragons in the observation areas, Barnes knew that the future held infinite possibilities. The age of isolation was over and the age of galactic friendship had begun. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together with the courage of humans and the ancient wisdom of dragons lighting their way through the stars.